I tell you what, it's too hot, it's too sodden hot. But what's making me hot today, with anger, with rage, is this idea of making sure that young people have to display their COVID passports to get into nightclubs. And some have even, the Prime Minister's refused to rule out pubs as well. Now, it's not limited to young people, of course. Anyone who's refused to get the jab will suffer as a consequence of what is essentially going to segregate people based around who's got the vaccine and who hasn't. It's a form of healthcare apartheid. Basically, the clean can go into these nightclubs and the pubs, but the unclean can't. Those who might not have had the jab because they want to fall pregnant soon, for example, and they're a bit concerned about that as soon to be mothers, or mothers who want to be expectant in the not too distant future. Those who are just, frankly, opposed to the government deciding who should and who shouldn't be jabbed, all of it, right? They basically, this is an attempt at coercion on a scale that we've not seen in this country before. This is a sort of the type of tactics that we'd be, I think, more common in seeing across the former Soviet bloc, the former Iron Curtain, those sort of states where you had Soviet oppression. Not in the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. You know, when my grandfather was fighting in Korea, I'm not sure that he thought he was what that flag he was fighting under represented, that beacon of freedom and liberty around the world, would be the sort of state that perniciously segregates people on the vaccine of a bloody virus that disproportionately impacts those over the age of 80, but the rest of us are likely to get a sort of cold flu-like symptoms and not suffer any hospitalization or worse, which is obviously bad, but we don't suffer that. So why force us to have this vaccine? Why coerce us through these, I think, horrible measures into having this vaccine? The Prime Minister, once stood up as a sort of beacon of liberty within the Conservative Party himself. He's come out against ID cards many times in the past. And now he finds himself as the Prime Minister who has pushed through the kind of measures that we would never have dreamt imaginable even a year ago. This is outrageous. It honestly, it makes me feel quite sick. And I don't want you for a second to think that that makes me anti-vaccine. I'm not anti-vaccine at all. I am a proponent of vaccines. I've had one myself. I get the second one in a month's time. But do you know what? If I hadn't been vaccinated now, I don't think I would go ahead with it. I think I'd be bloody minded in my determination not to be coerced into having it. So I think far from encouraging young people who haven't yet had the vaccine to do so, you're going to put people off. No one likes to be told what to do. And I find it just absolutely extraordinary and entirely disproportionate that we're forcing people to have this thing inserted into their arms in an attempt to make sure that our pubs and nightclubs are clean in some way for people that won't be impacted by the virus. The old have been vaccinated. That was the goalpost, that we were told that young people were sacrificing their education, their jobs in some cases, and much all else, their mental health and all the rest of it. They were sacrificing that for the laudable aim of protecting the vulnerable. Now, the vulnerable have been vaccinated. We are a nation that has taken up that vaccine with gusto. We have basically begged to be jabbed at our vaccination centres up and down the country. So the vulnerable are protected. They have that shield, that barrier that keeps the virus at bay. So why do we have to force people to have the vaccine by the back door? It's wrong. It's wrong, and I'm ashamed of my country for doing this. The fact that the Liberal Democrats have only just now remembered the Liberal part of their name and said that they will oppose any vaccine passport measures. Well, I think the Conservative Party should be more worried about that than they are right now. We saw that result in Chesham and Amersham, where the Liberal Democrats walked it on housing issues. This is yet another issue where they'll be able to romp home as well. because I certainly feel uncomfortable being part of a party that would advocate such authoritarian measures. Anyway, that's my 2 penny on the issue. Let us know what you think in the comment section.